This is episode 25 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you, looking ahead to the weekend that will be across European football's biggest leagues. And dare I say it, Jake, looks like someone, the guy next to me, has caught his stride. A perfect weekend last weekend on this podcast. You steamrolled through the Champions League midweek fixtures as well. Well done, Jake. I feel like you just have a little bit more bounce in your step here today.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to hit a little purple patch. Just hope it continues for a few more weeks yet. But yeah, it's just midweek was, I think we touched on it on the Champions League show. It was one of those match days where you just looked at the fixtures and there were just so many obvious plays that stood out, where you got a really good team playing a really shit team. And the really good team did a lot of really good things and won very comfortably on most of the occasion. I mean, you know, Atletico Madrid were one of mine that absolutely hammered Salzburg. I think that Leverkusen very comfortable as well. So yeah, just one of those where it all aligned and it was almost, I don't want to say too easy, but the plays were just so obvious to make at decent prices. Hopefully we've got more of those this weekend.
Yeah, both of you and I went 2 for 1 in our top plays of the week. Each and every podcast episode, we give out our top 3 plays. But pay attention to other picks and plays as well. There's some gold that we mine in terms of our picks and plays there as well. I think ended up about 3 units in terms of profit midweek as well. So let's keep on going. A special shout out to Atalanta. Goal machines, the team total, the match total, they just continue to deliver. And I wonder if Jake may have an Atalanta play this weekend as well.
Not this weekend, unfortunately, no. As much as I would like to. As much as I'd like to. You do? Good. At least one of us has them covered.
And I just want to mention, the Champions League couldn't have gone any better. This format is great for me. The only thing better would have been Man City getting knocked out of the competition. I think universally, we all would have liked to see it. But now we're really looking forward to what the market's going to look like. We'll cover it on our Champions League podcast. But the draw goes Friday. City will either play Bayern Munich or Real Madrid. And then the winner out of that tie would then play either Bayer Leverkusen or Atlético Madrid. So that is the most dangerous path to potentially winning the Champions League. And it will have an effect on the futures markets as well. We'll cover that down the road. All the markets that we use on this podcast are available on Pinnacle, Bet Smart, Bet Pinnacle. And should be some real cracking fixtures this weekend, shouldn't there be? Especially when it comes to play in the Premier League. And let's start on Saturday. Informed Bournemouth takes on Liverpool, who rested just about everyone for the midweek travel in the Champions League to PSV. Bournemouth, no losses in 12. Liverpool looking like a dynamo, top of the table in the Premier League, and odds-on favorite to go on and win it. It's a little bit of a tricky one based upon the way that Bournemouth have been playing. 5-0 over Nottingham Forest. They smashed Newcastle 4-1 in the process. But Liverpool and Arne Slot, I thought it was smart. Pick your battles here with some big games ahead, including this one this weekend. The top players in his side will all be fresh and raring to go on the weekend. That has to factor into the way that you're looking at this game, Jake. How are you looking at this fixture?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of Liverpool's toughest fixtures remaining, to be honest, because Bournemouth have been, as you said, they've been absolutely electric. They're probably, over the last 12 games, probably been the 3rd or 4th best team in the entire division, based on underlying process. They're well up there. They're creating loads of chances. They've obviously just hammered Newcastle and Forest, 2 teams that are currently in the top 6. So they'll not be fearing Liverpool. Bournemouth they've beaten Spurs, Arsenal, Man City at home already. They're a better team. They're a better team when they played Chelsea. Unfortunate to lose that one. So they played really, really well against the better teams. My initial thought was, I want to be back in Bournemouth in some way, shape, or form here, because I think that they're on such a good run of form. They've hit such a stride, and as bad as it is to say, I think they actually look a bit more dangerous without an out-and-out striker. Playing Ouattara up there, it just adds a little bit of flexibility. You've got Semenyo drifting into those spaces as well. Obviously, Kluivert making a few more runs in behind, as opposed to having a bit of a target man style front 9. Who obviously Evanilson does a lot of pressing, a lot of running and stuff, but I think just the interchanging is making it difficult for opposition defence. And then I remembered that Liverpool absolutely hammered them at Anfield 3-0. So I went back and looked at that game, And it wasn't a 3-0 game, much to my surprise. Bournemouth actually created loads of good chances in the first half. Liverpool got a lead and then scored again quickly after. And that was kind of the game over. But if you look at the stats, Liverpool created more XG, so they did deserve to win. But Bournemouth created 1.2 XG at Anfield. They had 19 shots in that game, which I thought was really interesting because Liverpool don't really give up too many shots. So it shows that they did get into good shooting areas regularly. And that was before they caught fire. That was right at the start of the season when they were still trying to find themselves. So now they've hit such a good patch. I am actually going to back Bournemouth on the handicap. Plus 105 you get in for Bournemouth with a 3/4 of a goal head start. Like you said, Liverpool are well rested. That was a smart move from Slot, given that they could only finish in the top two anyway. But for me, anyway, it's just the fact that Bournemouth, when they lose, they generally don't get hammered. I think they've lost by more than one goal only once all season, all competitions, and that was at Anfield. I think it's going to be a different contest at the Vitality. Taking the 3/4 handicap obviously means if they avoid defeat, we get a full payout. If they lose by one goal, we get half our money back, and I'd be very surprised if Liverpool went to Bournemouth and beat them handsomely, given the way in which Bournemouth are playing.
Bournemouth have beat City, Spurs, and Arsenal all at home this season as well. I think this is calling for a good old-fashioned Jake versus Wheeler head-to-head. Jake has a 2 lead in terms of our head-to-head matchup or plays this season. Based upon the fact that Liverpool are well rested in this game, it changed kind of my approach. Because I think that has significant value and could have a little bit of a knock-on effect here. I'm going to play both teams to score, yes, plus Liverpool to win at plus 192. It's a big old number for two teams where the over has been a fashionable play. Liverpool over their last 8 games, 25 goals, 10 conceded in the Premier League. Both teams to score has played in 4 of 5 and no clean sheet in their last 3. They're an excellent away side, are Liverpool. The most expected points, 26.94 in the Premier League, 30 goals scored, just 12 conceded away from home. They do really well against Bournemouth. They've won their last 4 meetings. You mentioned it, the 3-0, although the over is played in 9 of their last 10 meetings as well. Look, I'm not taking away anything from Bournemouth. They're 4th best in terms of home expected points on the season. They're doing exceptionally well. This is a market correction game. And I think Slot understood how important winning this one is to create that little bit of a gap, continue, nullify any hope of Arsenal or anyone else being able to close that gap. I think all eyes are on this fixture. I think Liverpool go into play to win. I do think they're conceding too many goals. I do think there's goals in this fixture, but I think they'll do enough to get past Bournemouth in this one. So both teams to score and Liverpool to win. For me, it's worthwhile in a game like this to try to get a little bit extra juice, and at plus 192, that's music to my ears, Jake.
Yeah, see, I'm happy to take the head-to-head bet. I really am. I've just gone back and looked, and yes, Liverpool are a good away team, but they've had a very favourable away schedule so far. I think they've played most of the bottom half of the table already away from home, and the games against the top half, especially against the top 8 this season so far away. Drew 3-3 at Newcastle, drew 1-1 Nottingham Forest, and drew 2-2 at Arsenal. And Bournemouth, as we know, are performing like one of those top teams. So history, or this season, it would suggest that Liverpool are struggling a little bit when they play the better teams away from home, and that their results and their data is all kind of massaged by playing weaker sides. So yeah, we shall see if that's still the case, but I'm more than happy to make that an official head-to-head.
All right. Chance to go level, or Jake to provide a little bit of a cushion between me and him in the head-to-head.
Does it bother
Something
you
to follow this weekend?
I was going to say, does it bother you that Liverpool have the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg in midweek after this game?
No, well, the midweek isn't the midweek game the Merseyside derby at Everton?
No, next week is Tottenham.
All right, in this match week, the Everton fixture is included for any of you that play fantasy football as well for this match week. But yes, doesn't bother me at all. That's why the midweek game at PSV, you saw the kids play, basically. So I think it'll be sharp this weekend. Look, this Liverpool side and the way that the kids even played at PSV, They're finely tuned. Everyone's, marching to the beat of the same drum. I just think they are a dynamo right now, and I think that they will win the Premier League with relative ease, to be honest with you. Whatever happens beyond that, Champions League, cup competitions, we'll see. But Liverpool, the Premier League, I just think it's a near lock at this point. On Sunday, the team that's trying to chase them feature prominently in the other marquee fixture of the weekend. It's Arsenal and Manchester City. Both victorious midweek, although it was a little bit uncomfortable at the Etihad for a time being, down 1-0 to Club Brugge at the half. Arsenal, 3 wins in a row, no losses in 6. City have been regularly playing to the over. They finally found their scoring boots, at least it looks that way, going over 2.5 in each and every one of their last 7 games. How are you looking at this game, Jake? Like, you can call it a must-win for both sides. They typically play one another in a very competitive way. How are you looking at this?
Yeah, this is a very difficult game to pick a winner, I find, because Arsenal are missing their best attacking player, Bukayo Saka. Martin Odegaard hasn't played for the last couple of games. He's questionable for this. And then on the flip side, City are just so open defensively still. We saw Brugge just carve them open the first opportunity they got, and probably only opportunity they got in midweek. And yeah, Chelsea did the same, obviously with a little bit of help from the new defender last week, and prior to that, PSG did the same. So we know that City is still vulnerable, but do Arsenal have the players to take advantage of that is my question. And that's probably why I'll not be backing them to win at plus 109. And likewise, I won't be backing City at plus 252 because I think it's difficult for them to keep a clean sheet. And we know Arsenal's calling card is a solid defence. So for me, I think the angle to go down is bookings. Over 4.5 bookings on Pinnacle is priced at minus 131. I imagine the line will probably move close to kick off. It'll move up probably to over 5 at a plus number. I'd be happy to take that as well because these two teams had a very fiery first game. If you remember, there were 9 cards in the reverse, 8 yellows and a red. And it kind of all started from the kickoff where the ball was passed to Rodri and Havertz just ran through him. And I was like, oh, this is a nice throwback, a little bit of physicality, a little bit of needle, straight from the off. And it kind of went from there. And I expect it to be exactly the same this time around. There's still that little bit of needle between Gabriel and Haaland, the old, when they scored the equalising goal, Haaland threw the ball at him and then told him to stay humble and all that kind of stuff. So I could see it easily kicking off. I think there's a lot of players in both camps that are more than capable of contributing to the cards. And good referee appointment as well with Peter Banks, who's averaged 4.6 cards per game this season. And last season they had a 2-card game in the 0-0 at the Etihad, and a 1-0 at Arsenal was a 5-card game. They also had 4 cards in a Community Shield as well, which is like a friendly. And the season before that, it was 4 and 6. So good recent card history. And Arsenal this season, one of the most card-happy teams in the division, 4.8 cards per game. City, 4.26. So more than happy to just get on board with cards.
Okay. It was after that Haaland comment, by the way, the real wobble started with Man City, and their season started to go in the wrong direction. It was 2-2 earlier this season. I kind of like a similar outcome, to be honest with you. Both teams to score and over 2.5 will be my play at plus 112. On Arsenal, I know what you're saying, that defending has been their calling card, but they haven't been keeping clean sheets. Both teams to score has played in 4 of their last 5 in the Premier League, including games at Brentford and Brighton and home to Spurs and Villa. So they've been conceding goals in games and gone over 2.5 in 4 of their last 5 in all competitions. They do have the best XG at home on the season. Saka, no Saka, they create chances. They scored 22 at home, and their XG is 26.44 at home. City just can't keep a clean sheet. I mean, they've kept 2 clean sheets in their last 9 games in the Premier League. They came against Ipswich Town and Leicester City. That's really all you need to know. But they have found their scoring boots. They scored 2 or more goals in 9 of their last 10 games in all competitions. So give me both teams to score, the over, the total at 2.5 at plus 112. I'm surprised you're getting a plus number on that, to be honest with you. I think there's a little bit of value in making that play. What else in the Premier League this weekend do you have your eye on, Jake?
Quite a few, to be fair. Quite a few
Wow.
games. I like Everton to beat Leicester -126. It's a fairly straightforward pick. Everton under Moyes won two, lost one, but all three games have been much improved in terms of the underlying data. Defensively, they still look fairly strong. They're creating more chances and more regularly as well against better opponents than Leicester. They played Villa, Spurs, and Brighton. Leicester obviously coming off the back of that win against Tottenham, but I mean, an argument could be made that Tottenham are one of the worst teams in the league right now. I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that.
No.
And I don't think
Form table, they're 18th over their last 8 games, I believe.
Yeah.
So
I think if you stretch that even further, they drop a place as well. It's been that bad. One win in 11 league games. Leicester have only won 2 away games all season. That was at Tottenham and at Southampton. Avoided defeat in just 2 away games as well. Further than that, which was Ipswich and Crystal Palace back in September. So basically, they've been beaten everywhere they go. And I think Everton are in a good spot to take advantage. -126 looks a big number for me. I thought they should be a bit shorter. And then the other one I really liked is Wolves against Aston Villa. Villa's record after midweek matches, they played 17 times after midweek matches, be that Carabao Cup, midweek Premier League or Champions League. They've only won 2 and they've drawn 5, lost 10. And the 2 wins came right at the start of the season against Southampton at home and Wolves at home. So 2 of the teams that are in the bottom 4, they've played them before all the injuries, before the amount of minutes that have gone on the players' legs. And since then, they've lost 10 and drawn 5 of those matches. So, yeah, they're not a very good team to be backing on the back of European exploits. Adding to the fact they've got no centre-backs because Mings is injured, Torres is injured, they've just sold Diego Carlos, which means that Boubacar Kamara is going to likely play at centre-half again against Consa, which is against Celtic, it was okay because Celtic don't offer too much threat, but against Wolves, it might be a different story. And then you add in that looks like John Duran's going to be leaving to Saudi as well. Probably not going to be available for this game. And you've got no backup striker option off the bench if you need to freshen things up. So I like Wolves for that reason. Just on Wolves, they struggled to create chances against Arsenal, but they played them really tough. And Arsenal had a man sent off in the first half, but Wolves hung in the game very, very admirably in that first half and didn't let up many chances. So they've had 4 straight league defeats, but all teams they've played have come against in the top 6. And Villa sit 8th, but I think if there's ever a time you want to play them, it's probably now on the back of a big Champions League game where the squad's depleted, they're knackered. Emery hasn't had time to tactically get ready for this Wolves game, and I'm more than happy to make a pro Wolves bet. The handicap, I think, is a quarter of a goal. Plus 105.
I have the exact same play. We're finally aligned here, 17 minutes into this podcast. Yeah, on the handicap, quarter of a goal at plus 105. Above and beyond what you mentioned, the speculation around Ollie Watkins certainly doesn't help as the transfer window, slams shut next week. Matty Cash left the field. I think he was hurt against Celtic as well. No clean sheet in 4. Again, Villa are a different side defending at home than they are away. Their expected goals against is 11 expected goals against more away than it is at home. So, and Wolves, you mentioned their tough competition. They've lost their last 4 games, but they've come against Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Nottingham Forest. So that's a very difficult group of teams. So the exact same play as you, I'm going to roll with Wolves on the handicap. All right, Jake, what else are we looking at in terms of the Premier League this weekend? Is that it? I have one other play that'll make here, and I'm not sure what total would take me off of playing Brentford and Spurs on the over. It lines up at 3.5 at -120. I'm still going to make that play. Neither have a clean sheet in their last 4. Brentford has conceded 2 or more goals in 5 of their last 6 games at home. And 29 goals scored at home is the most in the Premier League. And 23 conceded at home for Brentford is bottom 5 in that category. And the over 45 combined expected goals and expected goals against at home is just simply a huge number. Spurs are Spurs. Over 40 combined expected goals and expected goals against away from home in just 11 away games. That is a massive number. 15 and 18 in their last 8 games in terms of scored and conceded is the second most combined over that span. And head to head, they've gone over in both teams to score in each and every one of their last 5 meetings, which have ended 3-1, 3-2, 2-2, 3-1, and 2-2. So whether it's the past or the present, expect goals at the G-Tech, and I'm making that play this weekend as well. Anything there or anything else?
Yeah, I think it's just a simple bet. Back Brentford to win, plus 110. I don't think we need to overcomplicate it. Spurs are really, really bad right now, and that's just very, very simple analysis there. But they really are struggling. Like I said, it's 1 win in 11 league games, and that was against Southampton, who everybody beats. And meanwhile, Brentford, their home form looks a little bit shaky at the minute. They're winless in 5 in all competitions, but the 3 defeats have come against teams currently in the top 3. They had a draw against Manchester City, a team that are currently 4th or 5th now, Manchester City. And Tottenham just are not very good travellers whatsoever. They've lost 7 of 12 away games this season. 7 of 11 have Spurs. And ultimately, off the back of a midweek European game with a look ahead to an away game in the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg, this is the the lowest priority game of the 3 for Tottenham. And I think Brentford take advantage, plus 110.
Just something to keep an eye on. Vicario, Van de Ven are back in training.
They'll not
There's
play
Europa
this
League
weekend.
Thursday. I don't think they will either, but it's just something to keep in mind when you're making a potential play this weekend.
I'd be shocked
I'll
if
just
they
make
played,
make a quick mention. I have a strong lean, no official play on this podcast. Forest and Brighton at under 2.5. But no official play on the podcast. But that number seems just about right to me. If it moves at all and gives you a little bit more juice, I think I may jump on that before kickoff on Saturday. Shall we move on to La Liga?
I've got one more bet.
Oh, you have one more play. This
from
Premier League
from the Monday game
block of games is just crushing it. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
what else do you have? Oh, the Potter game, Chelsea and West Ham.
Potter's Revenge. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Hammers. That doesn't really work. But yeah, I think
good effort.
I was trying to go through Harry Potter titles really quickly to see if I could go on to work. I think West Ham on the handicap are a solid proposition, plus 1.5 at minus 111. They looked really good in the second half against Aston Villa. Should have probably won the game, created more opportunities than Villa at Villa. And Chelsea have only got 1 win in 7, and that came against Wolves, a Wolves team that are not as good as this West Ham side, not as organised, don't have as good individuals, I don't think, especially at the back end. So I think this is just one of those games where it's just going to be really awkward for Chelsea. West Ham, we know they're going to settle with Potter a back 3 or a back 5, really. They're going to try and frustrate. They're going to keep a lot of possession, get down the sides. And you just know that Potter's going to want to go there and he's going to want to make a bit of a statement. I wouldn't put anybody off backing a West Ham win as well because, stranger things have happened on return to clubs that have really made silly decisions and sacked managers when they probably shouldn't have. It's a shame Pochettino's not in the league, actually, because I'd be backing him to go there and get a result with somebody as well. But for now, plus 1.5 West Ham. I think if they lose, it'll be a close defeat.
Could have gone Graham Potter and the Prisoner of Stamford Bridge. So something along those lines. Might have been a little bit better because he looked like he was absolutely in jail when he was there.
I've got it.
What is it?
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hammers. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hammers.
Still a work in progress. We'll leave it at that. I don't think there was any smash hit or home run there, but
we're going to be potty, aren't we? Come on,
we're doing our best on off the top of our head here. So, all right, La Liga. I want to bring up La Liga futures here, as on Pinnacle, Real Madrid is leading the way, and their odds on at minus 250. I mean, that number, I'm not sure it makes sense. Atlético Madrid are right behind them. They're at plus 600 and Barcelona at 375. And we all know what kind of team they are and continue to be. I think there's some value in making either one of the two other plays, not Real Madrid, to go on and win La Liga. And especially looking at Atlético Madrid, they've been the hottest team in that league for really the last month and a half. And you can get them at plus 600. Does that make sense to you at all, or what are you looking at when it comes to La Liga?
I struggle to see a result other than Real Madrid winning it, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, they've got a 4 point cushion at the moment to Atletico, 7 points to Barcelona. I think that seven's going to be too much for Barca to turn around, given their defensive issues. They're the worst defensive team with the
Lots of
three.
games at home coming up for Barcelona, though. They
Yeah,
played an away heavy schedule. We'll see where they'll be playing eventually, but
no, I get that, but I think they're still not playing the games at home. Really, they're playing them at the
yeah.
Olympic Stadium, which is not officially their home. That might be something that comes back to bite them. I know it has done. Obviously, already losing three of nine. Yeah, Real Madrid since the start of October have picked up the most expected points in La Liga, and yeah, they just seem to be finding a bit of a rhythm. They struggled early on to see where everyone was going to fit in. They've hit the stride at the minute. I think they've now, after the win against Brest in midweek, they've won 12 of the last 14 in all competitions. They've scored an average of 3.4 goals per game. And that is going to take some beating. Now they've found a bit of rhythm, and like I said, they've got a cushion already on both teams. 4 points to Atletico, seven to Barcelona. I know they've got to play them both again, but they play Atletico at the Bernabeu, and I know they have to go to Barcelona, but that's like the fourth last game of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if that's all done by then. So I personally will be leaving it alone because I think the Real Madrid are going to go ahead and win the thing, but. Of Barca and Atletico are the better value for sure.
Plus 600. I just can't get past that. I think they're just a really, really good team. Um, and what happens in Champions League as well, Barcelona may not have an easy draw depending on who comes out of their section. Could very well be PSG and Real Madrid. I mean, they play Man City, and however that could be difficult sledding for both those sides. Okay, what about this weekend in La Liga? Are you looking at anything?
Yeah, our good old friends Real Valladolid.
It's so fun betting against them. It's like usually stress free because they can't score a goal.
Yeah, basically that was the thinking. Villarreal win to nil, plus 109. The Villarreal's got a really good home process, especially going forward. They create loads of chances. They do give up a few, but this Valladolid team have really struggled away from home, conceding less than around 0.8 expected goals against per game. They failed to score in 5 of their 10 away games. But the interesting thing, digging a bit deeper, is that the games they've scored away in at Espanyol, Les Palmas, Alavés, and Sevilla and Celta Vigo. What do they have in common? They're all in the bottom half. So they're yet to score away against a team in the top half of the table. And Villarreal are pushing for top 4. They're a side that are very strong, and I think they're going to just put their class is going to be very evident on the day. So the boost from a Villarreal win, which is priced at minus 431, to win to nil at plus 109 looks huge.
Former United center back Willy Kambwala doing very well at Villarreal as well, might I add. 3 plays for me this weekend in La Liga. I didn't think I liked anything when I first looked at the fixture list, and then I'm like, okay, I think there's some plays here. Atletico Madrid, a good old-fashioned win to nil at home at minus 103 over Mallorca. Mallorca haven't scored in their last 4 in all competitions, only 10 goals away in 10, and 4 goals scored overall in their last 6 in La Liga. They're doing pretty well for Mallorca on the season, but going to Atleti, I think it's a tough one. Atleti 6.44 expected goals against in 11 games at home is the best by far in La Liga in terms of expected goals against. Best in terms of expected points, 8-3-0 at home overall. And head-to-head, Atletico Madrid, 3 straight wins, all with a clean sheet, all finish 1-0. So may that trend continue. Barcelona versus Alavés. Goals over 3.5 at minus 104. Head-to-head, Barca 3-0 and 3-1 in their last 2 meetings. 4 wins a row and no losses in 15 overall. And no clean sheet for Alavés in this fixture in their last 19. Barcelona, no losses in 8. They've gone over in 5 of 6. Both teams have scored in 6 of 6. And 27 home goals in 9 games. Alavés, no clean sheet in 10. But both teams have scored in 8 of 9. Like their last 4 in La Liga. 3-1 at Betis, 2-2 draw with Valencia, 2-2 Osasuna, and 2-1 loss at Atleti. They're fourth in away goals with 15 and fourth in XG as well. I think they could score against Barcelona here. So I think this is going to be the most high-scoring fixture of the weekend in La Liga. And finally, Betis and Athletic Bilbao. I mean, Betis, it got to be a shambles if they're going onto the market and picking up Antony on loan. It's just, it all seems rather desperate. The analytics, the data behind them isn't awful, but Bilbao, they're the informed team in La Liga over the last 8, 6-2-0. They don't concede away from home. They're fourth in the table, by the way, as well. They're the best away expected goals against at 10.42 and 10. Betis 17th in terms of the form table over that exact same span, 2-2 and 4. It finished 1-1 in the last meeting. I'm fine with that. Well, actually, I'm not fine with that. I think that Bilbao's the better side here, and I think you're getting a little bit of value there. All right, Sunday in Serie A, it's the Milan derby. It's a rematch of the Supercoppa Italia, which was played in Saudi Arabia, and AC Milan, let's be honest here, a little bit of an upset, defeating Inter to win the title in that respect. That game was played last month, but you look at these two sides, Jake. Inter 16 points better in the table, 55 goals scored to just 32 scored by AC Milan, and 5 fewer goals conceded as well. Inter are the favorite here. That's going to be my play at minus 101 to win this game outright. It's just, they're the better side. I'm not going to just make things complicated here. Understand what happened in the cup game, but playing in the league and Inter's position plays into the fact that I just want to back Inter in this fixture. How are you looking at this?
Yeah, I'm swerving Inter. I think this is a tough game to back, especially at a minus number. I'd want a plus number personally, just because while Milan, their goal totals and stuff aren't very high, their underlying data is pretty solid still. They're averaging 1.7 expected goals for per game, which is third in the league behind only Inter and Atalanta, so they are capable of scoring. And the last 4 head-to-heads have been even, 2 each. Milan obviously won the game earlier in the season in the league and the Coppa Italia, so they've got 2 wins out of 2 so far this campaign. 2 different managers, admittedly, but I think this is. Again, I'm swerve the outright, but I do think there's value in taking goals here, something that we don't usually do with Inter. But both teams are scoring over 2.5 at plus 119. It's been a very, very goal-heavy fixture recently. This bet would have won in all the last 4 head-to-heads. And both teams have shown a bit of defensive frailty as well. I know Inter, whenever they play against teams that are rubbish in Italy, they generally keep a clean sheet. But when they play against good teams, they show a bit of vulnerability, especially teams that take it to them and have a go. And you add in the fact that it is a big game for both teams, not only because it's a derby, but Milan are currently outside the top 6. They're looking to get into European qualification for next year. Inter, they're currently 3 points behind Napoli with a game in hand. They just can't afford to drop any points because Napoli have been absolutely relentless. Yeah. So you've got both teams that need to win, which I think is going to lead to quite an end-to-end game where neither team's going to sit on the rest on the laurels. They're going to be going for it.
Inter have been cruising. I went through how many consecutive games they picked up a clean sheet away from home. It's the same stadium, so I'm not going to take that into consideration. But 15 goals scored, 3 conceded in their last 6, 5-1-0 in Serie A. Inter are on a roll. I think they're a top 3 team in world football right now. I have no problem backing them in this fixture. Can I interest you in an Atalanta-Torino overplay? The total is set at 2.5, which is low considering it's Atalanta. You can find that on Pinnacle at minus 107. It's got to be one of the best numbers in market. The reason why it's set at 2.5 is Torino's been an underside. They've gone under 2.5 in 9 of their last 10 games. But Jake, in this fixture, head-to-head, it was a 2-1 final in Torino's favor the first time around, and 3 or more goals have been scored in 11 straight meetings between these sides. Lookman obviously is out. Scalvini looked to be a serious injury. Atalanta are depleted a little bit, but their side's pretty deep, and they're absolute XG monsters. They're goal-scoring machines, Jake. I have to back the over when it's 2.5, and I see Atalanta playing.
Yeah, I won't put anybody off it. I think 2.5 is a low total whenever Atlanta are playing. That main concern for me is the absence of Lookman. I think whenever whenever they don't have one of those three playing, the Catalan, Lookman or Ortega, I think that their fluidity in the forward area is a bit diminished, and we kind of saw that through that sticky period where they struggled to get results. So just a massive question mark for me around that. But I think that the way in which Atalanta are going, every single game you could expect them to score at least twice. So yeah, I won't put anybody off that, but I don't have an Atalanta play this week. I have a Lazio play.
Okay, you have a Lazio play. Let me just share very quickly. It's going to be a bounce back game for Juventus. They take on Empoli, who's the worst side in Serie A over the last 6 weeks, or 6 games, I should say. Juve minus a goal and a quarter at minus 109 is playable for me. Just 4 wins at home, but they haven't lost over the course of the Serie A season. They have the best expected goals against at home, and Empoli, their data, their underlying numbers behind their away form, they're one of the worst in terms of expected goals away from home as well. So Juventus to get things right after back-to-back losses at home this weekend. All right, Lazio, what are you thinking? What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at a straight Lazio win, plus 104, and they're away at Cagliari. Cagliari are posting a negative expected goal difference per game at home. Lazio, third best away team according to expected goals, won 6 of 11 on the road. They've only lost 3 times, but they've all come against good teams, Fiorentina, Juventus, Roma in the derby. And Cagliari are yet to beat a top 8 team at home this season, so struggle against the best. And Lazio, they play midweek in the Europa League, but they've kind of nearly all but got the top spot sewn up, so I expect full rotation there. Looking to get another win on the belts in the league, and just kind of, I mean, they're fighting for that top 4, which would be huge to get back into the Champions League. There's only 2 points between them and Juventus, so they can't really afford to take the foot off the gas. I think they'll go there, get a win. Plus number. Yes, please.
All right. Shocker, we've gone long on this podcast. But we need to make a stop in the Bundesliga as well. What are you seeing this weekend?
Pretty straightforward for me. The goal total in Frankfurt versus Wolfsburg is just screaming my name. It looks too low. It's a flat 3. Minus 117. I think it should be probably 3.5, really. There's already been quite a lot of money for it. When I did my notes on Wednesday, it was minus 104, so there's already been money. I still think there's value there. Frankfurt games averaging 4.1 goals per game. Wolfsburg games averaging 4.2 goals. XG-wise, Frankfurt 3.55 XG per game. Wolfsburg 3.23. Wolfsburg have gone over 3.5 in 13 of 19 Bundesliga games. So we only need 3 goals for our money back. Any more than that, we get a winner. Frankfurt are in a similar position to Lazio in the sense that they probably will rotate a little bit in Europe because they pretty much guaranteed a top 8 spot, which means they'll be fresh for this.
These are both oversides. Wolfsburg, 21 away goals scored, by the way. They also played to a 2-1 earlier this season. Eintracht Frankfurt, no clean sheet against Wolfsburg in 20. So this was the main one for me. That number's being pushed way out. Get it while you can. I also like Mainz on the 0 handicap. So the draw no bet at plus 111. They're at Werder Bremen. Mainz beat Stuttgart. They've been one of my favorite teams to bet this season. They're actually 3rd in the form table over the last 6 in the Bundesliga, and they have 7 wins out of the last 10 games. Werder Bremen, no wins since the Christmas break. 2-2 at 10-men Dortmund. Dortmund went down to 10 men in the 21st minute. 2-0 Augsburg, 3-3 Heidenheim, and a 4-2 loss at Leipzig. All their games have been very high scoring. I wouldn't put off anyone playing Mainz on the team total as well. And let's roll with, there's some value here, I think. Leverkusen to win to 0 against Hoffenheim at plus 128. Hoffenheim 6 points and 1 win in their last 8. They're second last in expected points away from home. They've been scoring goals on the season, but largely at home. Just a 6.47 expected goals away from home in 9 games is the worst. So they play Anderlecht in the Europa League as well. And Bayer Leverkusen coming off that clean sheet against Sparta Prague. They're 5-1-0 in their last 6. They haven't been picking up clean sheets. Even in their last meeting, it was 4-1 for Leverkusen, but the XG was minuscule for Hoffenheim playing in that game. So that's my other play. I'd also recommend looking at Liga this weekend. Brest against PSG. I like PSG. I like over the total in this game. It just seems like Luis Enrique's side is like hit another gear, Jake,
Yeah.
right now. Brest are vulnerable defensively, especially when they take on better teams. They lost 3-0 at home to Real Madrid. I kind of see a similar thing playing out. PSG, no losses in 19 against Brest. Yeah, either one of those, PSG on the handicap, a goal and a quarter or over 3. I wouldn't discourage anyone from making either one of those plays.
Yeah, PSG absolutely flying at the moment. I'm not sure what's ticked them into gear, but they look like a team that could be very dangerous in the Champions League if they can, get through this playoff. I can't remember off the top of my head who they might play. I think it's either Liverpool
They might play
or
Brest, Monaco are two of the teams, and I believe it's Benfica.
Benfica.
Yeah. So
They fancy the chances.
Then they would look to then potentially play Barcelona, and we all know the memories of Barcelona PSG games. Different players, but could be the exact same drama that based upon the way that both teams play. All right, your top 3 bets of the weekend are as such.
Over 3 goals in Frankfurt, Wolfsburg, -117. I'll be taking Wolves on the handicap against Aston Villa, +104. And my third one will be Lazio to beat Cagliari at +104.
Okay. The exact same play, Eintracht Frankfurt, Wolfsburg over 3 is my favorite play. Atlético Madrid against Mallorca, win to 0 at -103. I have a draw here. Which one do I want to do? Let's go with Arsenal City. Let's go with one of the marquee fixtures of the weekend. Go both teams scored over 2.5 at +112. What the heck? That's all for Jake and I. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. And we'll be back next week to do it all over again. This has been episode 25. Thanks for joining us right here on Pinnacle FC.